I enjoy working on these boats, skippering them. It's a 67-footer, big steel boat. Interesting boat. Different, for sure. You know, once you've seen one Catalina 42, you've seen them all. But I enjoy the variety of what I do, so any chance I get to go on something like this, I'm happy. Even though it's a kind of a beater. Been around the world a few times. Been seen a lot of waves. Been beat up. But this steel boat, Devonport Yachts, and it's definitely purpose made. All right, sometimes these wham bam one-day trips can be a little bit problematic. This big 67-foot expedition, we had a little a major exhaust leak and water flooding into the boat right here.
All along the whole gasket, all sealed.
That's correct, right here. The whole thing is split open. All the innards are exposed.
Looks like mold or something in there.
I think it's age just gets
soot and fucking diesel smoke.
oh well.
Oh, that.
All right, so we got about a mile down the road before we discovered the exhaust problem, leak, and had to turn back and we saw what the problem was. So that's it. That's it. End of the one-day passage from Bodega Bay. So here we are, Jeff and I having lunch on the bench, enjoying the nice weather here in Bodega Bay. Not too bad. You know, it's a boat. Things happen. You can't get upset about it. You have to halfway expect it. So that's it. Another day in the life. Okay, I'm back on the boat. And amazingly, this thing was fixed. The broker took it to one of his buddies. And they cleaned it up, I guess, a bit anyway. And then layered on some fiberglass here to reseal it. And that's all it took. So good for them to do that so quickly. It's a lot better than trying to find this part. All right, so you can see this thing's been leaking for a while. This CO, this soot right here, isn't exactly brand new. But the boat has been sitting here for a few years in Bodega Bay, so who knows when exactly. But I'm going to go ahead and clean the space up here and reinsert it and hopefully get it all back together. All right, because this boat is a BT Global Challenge boat, one of those boats that are built to race around the world the wrong way, so going to weather the entire time. Therefore, the machinery has to work on an excessive heel. Not good for the engine, not good for the machinery, obviously, being that heeled over. Who knows? But anyway, this is how they built it. So they built the exhaust system rather interestingly. I'll just show it to you really quickly here. So there's the exhaust. You can see how it's plumbed. It's got some heat wrap on there, a vibration dampener or insert there. Then it has this jacket here, so cold water lines the exhaust. It's cold to the touch, although I just ran the engine. And you can see it has this, not really an anti-siphon loop, just a loop. Goes above a certain dimension for healing, and then back into the elbow, right? So here's the elbow here, and then it shoots out and goes forward this way. So just at the base of the stairs is where the engine is. Sits right here. Now you can see the exhaust. It's going forward here, so that's where it comes out and then does all its rigmarole and comes forward. And you can see here it splits into two different sides. So one side is going uphill slightly to the starboard side, and the other one is going downhill slightly to the port side. So here's the port side, and this is where the generator lives, which doesn't work, and I believe it's locked up solid. And maybe I can explain why. So the exhaust is going through here, and it tees up to the water separator that I just installed. So, and then it continues on that way. So the engine is tied into that water separator. However, the majority, if not all of the engine's gas and water should be going out that direction. And it does. It goes straight to a seacock. So on both sides, the exhaust goes straight out to a seacock. There is no water lift muffler for the exhaust system. It just tees right here and then goes straight out. Starboard and straight out to port. So that's an interesting configuration. The problem is that for the generator, they have to have an exhaust system for it as well. So on this side of the generator is the exhaust hose, and that exhaust hose circles around and goes into its own water lift muffler right there. And that water lift muffler exits out this hose right there. And that hose comes up here and goes into that water separation unit. And then excess water should drop out and the exhaust should go down this way. So the exhaust should go down this way and tee into the engine's exhaust and go either way. And the water should drop down here and go through its own seacock. Now all the seacocks are open, but as you can maybe imagine, with the boat heeled over and various pressures or back pressure being in play, that the exhaust system could back up. So if, for instance, for some reason the ship's exhaust backed up, well, then it would go up this T, right? So water and gas go up here. Some of that always bypasses, so most of it will drop down this hose, but some of it could bypass and back feed into the generator, filling up the water lift muffler all the way up to the point of entry into the generator. So if I had to guess, that's probably the reason why the generator is hydrolocked. Okay, for the next issue, I have an electrical issue here. None of the instruments are turning on. SSB, radio, nada. Up down here or up at the helm. So we have some sort of power issue, obviously. And this boat, who knows what, right? All the wiring and add-ons and everything over time. All the corrosion. It's got a couple of battery switches down here, which are both on. And it's got some unlabeled switch over there, which either on or off doesn't seem to make a difference. So here at the panel, it's got a few things going on. It's got an alarm system up there. It's got a light switch. I have the light circuit on, so I'm seeing some light. So I know I'm getting power to the bus here, engine and so forth. There's the Vectron system right there, which shows state of charge. Not bad. It's got galvanic gauge there, and two panels, both of them DC panels, and you can see this one's lit up over here and that one's lit up there. So I've got both buses working there. On this side, I can turn on the generator fan. I can hear it, so the master breaker is turned on. So if I turn that off, that should disconnect that. So for some reason this bus here doesn't seem to be connected to that switch, so there might be a problem back here. So I want to go ahead and take the panel down and measure DC at that circuit breaker. Okay, yikes, that looks like a bit of a rat's nest back here. Obviously a lot of add-ons and changes, and even the factory wiring doesn't look all that terrific. Looks like a British sports car. So I got to find the master circuit, which I think is right over here. These big cables here, and then measure across. All right, well, this is the 12-volt side of the panel, and behind the panel is a 12 or 24 to 12 converter box, Vectron unit. So I'm not getting, I put the hard to find a ground in here that I can verify. So there is a ground wire on that box, which I attached to, and I attached it to the positive side of that. And I'm not seeing any voltage at all. So, all right, I'm not getting 24 volts at the converter. So, I'm not sure what's happening there. Yeah, nada. So let's see if I take my other guy and walk it around, see what I get. Move this guy up here. Wah, 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 wah. All right, put that guy right there. And I got nothing. I got nothing. I got nothing right there. Yeah, so I'm not getting any 12 volts out of that converter. And I can't tell where the wires go because everything's a mess. But I know that the equipment on that bus is 12 volts. So you got a 24 volt system, so that has to be fed 12 volts. So one of these wires here going to the bus, cables, is going to be a 12 volt cable coming from here or someplace else anyway. So that's where I'm at with that. So let's try to figure out why I'm not getting 24 up to there. All right, well, I'm not sure if that's the problem, but I can't get 24 volts to that battery converter. So if I'm not getting 24 volts, I'm not getting 12. And if I'm not getting 12, I'm not getting power to what I think is the panel, and what I think is that bus, which powers up this stuff. So that's my theory. And I can't go any further until I can figure out what supplies power to that. And man, this boat, whew, that's an all-day thing right there, just trying to figure out where those wires go. Okay, I was correct in my theory, but wrong in my overly complicated assessment. So just after I gave up on this thing, I just figured I'll trace out the power wire and see where it goes. So that is the power wire. And I can see that it's going over here and back to the panel. So it's going right here to the panel somewhere underneath all that spaghetti. So I lifted up the panel, and lo and behold, there's a switch called 12 volt nav charge. Well, it's not really charging anything. That's just a 12 volt converter. So mislabeled. So there it is, 12 volt converter. You have to turn that on at the panel for it to supply power to the instruments. And the instruments are turning on now, so looks like I'm good to go.